you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I can't hear you. Oh!
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your captain, Jim Bob Ovalshorts, and tonight we've got another one of what I've been calling kind of our lost episodes. A bunch of stuff was recorded, and then my computer fried, and now I'm just having to get them all reloaded back up for you guys, man. And it's been a task, I can tell you that. Like, it's definitely been a task. Of course, this one was originally recorded on April 19th, 2023, with the host of the Cronspiracy podcast, Nekko. He's also totally the guy behind Pure Pet Wellness as well. You guys know we talk about that every episode when I'm plugging things over there from everyone's favorite website, unconstitutionalawakening.com. Man, again, this was one of those on the fly recordings that I ended up having to do. I believe I did it off my phone, so the quality isn't the best, but hey, we were still trying to make it happen, even though we were hobbling along on one leg. But it's not that big of a deal, man. We made it work, and man, we're going to keep on making it work, and we're keeping on, man. Already started recording again, so y'all be looking forward to more and more episodes coming out left and right over the next few days. Hopefully, I don't overdo you guys, man. But of course, anything you'll need to find with this episode and how to get back to Nekko and how to get back to anything and everything else is over there where it's always at, on everyone's favorite website online, unconstitutionalawakening.com. Man, there's all kinds of good stuff over there for everything. Links to watch us, links to listen to us, ways to listen to us, links to our merch store, and links to all of our friends in Liberty: Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, Pure Pet Wellness, and Brett Pike with Classical Learner and Homeschools Connected, man. All those links and more are all found over there at unconstitutionalawakening.com. So, but I'm going to quit running my mouth and just let you guys find things out for yourself from this episode. So let's weigh anchor and set sail on this bad guy.
And as I was telling you guys there in the opening, I've got Neptune and Luis joining me this evening to host Nekko, the host of the, how do you say it, man? Because I'm gonna say it wrong. I butcher
the
things
the Cronspiracist, like the chronic, the Cronspiracist. Yeah, my gaming name back in the day was Economy because I was always joking about the weed prices.
Nice.
I'm here in California, so it's a big topic here usually.
Did you play Drug Wars when it came out?
I don't know. Probably not. Maybe I was medicated at the time.
It was a no, not that one.
Oh, I did for a little
bit. The actual video
game. Yes, I did. A mobile game for a very short period of time. I believe it
started on the Palm Pilot. That's how.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, then it wasn't that. I thought it was an iPhone game.
No. It became eventually an iPhone game, and there's just Drug Wars, the one from Zynga. But I mean, Drug Wars, the original, was actually like a list of cities, and then you jump from city to city, and then you buy different drugs at lower prices and then sell them at high prices in different cities. So it was like basically
Tokyo
a trading game. Oh, it was so much fun because they just named drugs instead of commodities. They just named drugs instead of commodities.
So Nekko, I gotta ask, man. Where's for the folks that are out there in my crew that are hearing you for the first time and seeing you for the first time and stuff, man, like what boosted you into the world of podcasting and such?
Oh, I've always been listening to guys like Tinfoil Hat, Sam Tripoli, and then from there I've seen the guests and kind of gone into all their different worlds. And I like your guys' world with Ghost, and I don't know all the names yet, but I've been following Ghost like religiously ever since he started working with the CBD. So I love listening to his commercials. I'm like, oh yeah. I'll show them to a couple of my friends if they're sitting around and stuff, or my wife will be like, "Oh, you hear that? That's us." So
nice. Yeah. My, of course, we got you guys on here as well too with Pure Pet Wellness. We make sure we make that announcement at the beginning of every episode, and always find other places to plug it in while we're doing it and such. Man, we appreciate you guys and what you got going on over there, and appreciate finally getting that care package. I don't know why I had so much trouble with it.
Oh no, I've been having issues too. Just been mailing stuff. I have my label printer that had issues where it wasn't, the one section of it was missing one of the bars, so I had a bunch of return packages. So now that we're moved, we're settled in, I finally have like my podcast type setup, and that I also do photography, so I'm all over the place. But it's nice. California, and I have 2 kids, so we have to do some crazy stuff to survive out here without. I don't know how people do without it.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I know the cost of living out there is outrageous, and a lot of the folks from that side of the country have been moving to my side of the country and raising my prices too.
Oh, where are you at? You're in
I'm down in Georgia.
Georgia. That's not bad. I was looking at South Carolina, Florida. Just worried about the gators when I'm walking my dogs, but I don't think that'll be a big problem, right?
That's why I like where I'm at, because I've got all the beautiful Florida weather, but no gators to really worry about. I'm far enough north from there that it's very rare to see one. Now, have we run across a couple out in the river? Sure, that's not unknown, but
they're easy enough to avoid. Yeah, they're easy enough to avoid, hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, one of the other co-hosts that's not joining us today, Bandit, he come down here, and me and him went down one of my favorite stretches of river. It's like a 9-hour float, even by canoe. It takes a good bit of time. And the week after he left, I sent him some pictures and was like, "Hey, you remember the bridge we got out at?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "The next bridge down, there was this gator these pictures of this gator being shown a week after you left." And he was like, "I told you there was a gator out there." I was like, "I know there was." I was like, we just don't bother him, and then we're not out there after dark, because that's when he'll probably want to bother us.
Oh man, that's crazy.
So California, man. So I hear it's always a bit of a shit show out there. I guess you guys in not too bad?
I'm in San Diego, so we're kind of like diamond in the rough because we got the military bases down here. So That's why we're here. My dad's originally from Texas, then Virginia, and then he came out here. So he taught me how to shoot and repair my own shit and do my oil changes and stuff like that. So that's really rare here
in California to begin with.
Oh yeah. So on the side as well, I do some handyman work, and so it'll start at like $46 an hour, and sometimes it'll be to replace someone's shower head. Like I went to drive, and it was a 3-hour minimum. So I replaced the shower head, and I brought my tools because I was like, it must be something difficult. And it was a hand screw shower head. So I unscrewed it by hand, charged it for 3 hours. So $120, right? I walked out there in 15 minutes. So it's like, that's the kind of crazy stuff that goes on in California. But so there is some money to be made if you can work with your hands. And the guys coming up from Mexico and going back to live on the other side live like kings here too.
Oh, I'm sure. We get it's not uncommon over here too. Like I've worked with and am friends with quite a few people that have, not by choice, been sent back, but they end up coming back over here anyway because they want to continue to work and send back to their families. So,
oh yeah,
they're some of the most best folks that I know and some of my closest friends. And I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm right there with you. Screw your imaginary lines. Like, you guys should be able to be up here if you want to be.
Oh yeah, I actually lived there for a few years myself too, because I worked remotely, and it was amazing. Like,
how was that?
Why don't you?
I have 2 kids now, so we crossed when the first kid was born just for the family help and stuff like that, and that ended up being a double-edged sword. So we're potentially ready to go. Well, we were going to go to Mexico again potentially, but I'm a European citizen, so we may live part of the year in Spain and come back and forth.
I was going to ask you, like Mexico Europe it's somewhat cheaper, but Mexico too. You can actually even buy a house through the bank, so it's not too hard to even live over there. My friend's thinking of living over there because he can be like, I'm just going to buy a really nice house for $50,000 and live by the ocean.
Oh yeah, you have to get away from the border here though, because if you're right,
it's Tijuana. He wanted to be by the area of Tulum,
wow,
like Garming.
Yeah.
That's far. That's
and that's tropical, completely different too. Yeah, yeah. Here's more like a desert beach. But we would love like Guadalupe or like different parts. I watched Costa Rica even, but the fact that I have Spanish citizenship just makes it so much easier. And then my kids have Spanish citizenship. They could go to college. This whole shit with Ukraine is making it not as attractive though, with the prices of heating and all that going crazy in Spain right now. And
it's our money.
Yeah.
It's making Americans richer. I mean, it's 10 Americans, but it's making those 10 Americans richer.
Oh yeah. Well, historically Ukraine's always been used for money funneling, so it's doing what it's been doing for years.
Wasn't that report basically saying that it was a lot of money laundering was occurring?
I'm sure it was. Report? Yeah, there's a history of like them being used by both the Eastern and Western powers to launder money for drugs, human trafficking, all kinds.
I think they were the capital of human trafficking for a while in Europe.
Oh yeah, which I heard a really funny bit on another podcast about how the your refugees were more welcome in Ireland because they're thinking that they're hot Ukrainian women. So they're like, oh yeah, he's like, how about the Syrians or the South, like some from Africa? No, we don't have space for those, but they're like Ukrainian refugees. Yeah.
Well, Ireland did not get to the point it is today. Like, so before the famine, they recovered from the famine just a few years ago. That's how much the population dropped. That they millions died. So the population did not reach back up until 2018, 2019, I think it was.
I mean, but if you get into my world about it though, like it wasn't as much as a famine as it was the British over there intentionally destroying crops and kidnapping Irishmen and shipping them to America.
It's still a famine, but it's a fabricated famine.
Well, they literally had tours you could go on carriage tours and you could go watch like the starving kids in villages. And that was like an outing that you would do with your rich friends. It'd be like, let's
serious.
Yes, it's like Roman Caligula type shit, like that dark entertainment, and that's what it would be like going out for a carriage. Let's go paint the little.
Where is Irish reparations from the English?
Right? Oh my god!
The same people that did that though are the same kind of people that used to have the human zoo as well. Like
oh yeah,
like that's.
In the World Affairs.
Wasn't there one in the Bronx? They brought a woman from Africa to the Bronx Zoo.
I'm not 100% sure, but
there's an image of
something
her.
like that.
There's an image.
Yes, with the big butt.
I believe it was to the Brown Zoo. Yeah, because of her badonka.
Exaggerated proportions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was disturbing, but I believe it was to a zoo or something like that. But I believe it was even the Bronx Zoo. But
history is way darker than like any Netflix series you'll ever see. Like,
yeah, because remember all the things that were recorded.
This is true. People don't take account into a lot of things in history. The number one thing in history being that governments around the world have together caused more genocide than any other thing in the entire history of
only
humanity.
Governments really commit genocide, so that's kind of a mute point. All governments commit genocide. Like
every last one of them,
powerful entity capable.
I mean, even ours today, in a sense, in a lot of ways, has in many different forms. Like
in Chile, 200,000 people almost died through Pinochet, which was like, you can say in some point that was a small genocide, because remember, it was a mix of the intellectuals and probably they were also attacking indigenous, because there is a living still indigenous group in Chile. Argentina has no indigenous people, for context. The reason why they all look white is because they killed everybody.
They're all German now.
Argentina killed everybody. Brazil, everybody else kept part of their roots to a point. And people don't get, like, people in South America, they look there is all the spectrums in South America naturally. South America is pretty diverse. I mean, in Africa, they say almost every variant of a human being exists in Africa.
Speaking, I mean, there's
so much variety, genetically speaking.
The different variant thing, though, you see that not only in like the South Americas and stuff too, but there's even vast parts of like the Middle East and even parts of Asia where the skin tone goes along with the regional of the area. You know what I'm saying? Like Filipino people, for example, they're so island and stuff. They're always a lot darker in tone than a lot of the other inland Asian countries.
But look at the Tibetans that are high up, relatively speaking, geographically, and like the whole land. And they're dark. But they're dark because they get so much UV exposure because they're in the mountains.
Yeah,
it's a different thing. It's because they're higher up, and people are like, "How the fuck did because?" I mean, those people actually, it's in the Himalayas. There's a group of people.
Trees for shade too.
Yeah. Well, what is this group that they're the ones that go through Everest with the tourists? Sherpas. Those guys are built different. Physically, they are built different. They
can process oxygen
better than any other human, and they're smaller. they're like they're smaller, more fit. Like they may have like
a bigger liver.
Americans. These fat, ugly, out of shape. They're like, you're in the best shape of your life. They're like, you're out of weight. You're like you're completely unfit.
Oh yeah.
So what is your favorite conspiracy?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, I'd like to say I love them all from the fun level. That's why I'm on like the conspiracy, because I don't like to get too dark too often. And I have done that before, and I like scared off some of my friends when I'm like blackpilling myself. And so I love a wide spectrum of them. There's like the hilarious ones like Dave Chappelle's A Clone, which is more like pop culture kind of thing. But I've gone through like Hollow Earth, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Probably the one that relates most to what I do would probably be the dog food conspiracy, and how like all this processed dog food since the beginning was just like, it was kind of like whey protein. You know how whey protein is kind of we'll start at fluoride. Fluoride's a byproduct of aluminum processing. And so before, you'd have to pay to dump it because it's a hazardous material and like it will poison rivers and shit like that. So instead of paying to dump it, you could pay to put it into our water, because then you don't have to dump it anymore. So that's how they found a way to use something that was worthless and get some money from it still. And it has other effects by making people dumber or something like that as well. Then whey protein used to be kind of trash or like poor people food. And now we sell it as like, you need this as like, this is your super to get buff and stuff. And it's like, well, how does that compare to like a chicken breast or something like that? And then dog food. Oh yeah, you can hop in. Yeah.
Well, I'm super hip on the dog food thing, and there's also like and I would like you to go into it a little bit too for everybody that's out there, but that isn't familiar with it. But and I'm not sure where to plug this in, but like I'm one of those guys too that has seen the dog food advance a lot. Like when I was a kid,
very recently.
Oh yeah,
very recently.
Dog food is dog food is edible now.
It's better than human food in a lot of cases. Yeah, it's better than McDonald's.
When I was a kid, your dog would eat whatever he ate, and eventually his shit turned white and stopped stinking. Like it was a thing that actually
They
happened.
acclimated. Yeah.
And now it doesn't even do that anymore, and their poops don't look the same. And as someone who's had a lot of dogs in his life, like I've seen that their health deteriorate in general. And my only explanation, just like it is for humans, is it's the food.
Exactly. And then and if you see what happens to dog health, if you look at charts, it's night and day. And I've used to love statistics because it came naturally to me. And if you look at these charts with the first dog foods being introduced, which was horse meat after World War II or World War I, because we got rid of a bunch of horses, we didn't need them anymore. So they were like, shit, people don't really like to eat this. Poor people ate horse meat every once in a while, like in a can. That's the same way they fed it to dogs, in a can. So they started marketing it, being like, don't feed your dog table scraps, feed them the scientifically designed dog food, horse meat. And it's just all this byproduct shit. And so that's how we started canning dog food. And then if you look at kibble is one of the highest carcinogenic things you could ever do. It has like a 32-year shelf life. It's designed for convenience, not for health at all. And if humans were to eat that, which they are going to have us eating vegetable-based kibble in the near future, our lifespan will go down to a fourth, as it has with dogs. There's dogs who used to live to 32 years, no problem. Now we have dogs like my Doberman here. Her life expectancy is 7 to 9 years. She's 11 years old right now with like no white hairs, perfect teeth.
That's the same for my boy that I got in there now. You know, his lifespan is like 9 to 10 years max. But
yeah,
he's only 6 now. But he eats a mixture of. He's always been a big into table scraps, and because of the farm stuff, like I mean,
oh yeah,
he gets all kinds of good stuff anyway. So
yeah.
I don't. When I go away, like if I go away for a day or two, go down. I know I'm going to the river or going camping overnight. He totally will have a bowl of something left out for him, but I try not to buy him the absolute garbage that's on the shelf. You know what I'm saying? Like they do. If you spend the money and do the research, they do make some pretty decent, especially in the refrigerated section, like actual dog food that's like actual meat and stuff, not just garbage.
Oh, just like with humans, like every once in a while when you're in a car for 12 hours, you have to get a drive-through. You know, it's like every once in a while. So when you do kibble, there's one thing that you can do to really spice it up is add water to it. That will make it more like any natural food source, because kibble is so dehydrated. Even with humans, when we eat something like beef jerky, you're turning your insides like into beef jerky. You need to really rehydrate to counterbalance with that. Otherwise, you're going to have inflammation, a bunch of other issues like that. So that helps. And then maybe crack an egg in there or something like that. Some natural enzymes that help kick up the digestion process. And I'm definitely not a dog nutritionist. This is just what I experienced from having a dog with dual hip dysplasia and a bunch of other issues.
I was turned on to a guy and this is actually, I've contemplated this 2 or 3 times. And this is, again, I wish Bandit was here because I know he's kind of in on this idea with me too. But I've been talking to a guy down here in Georgia that he runs a quail farm, and all his dogs eat are quail. Like that's he gives them quail for their
male quail.
Man, those are some of the healthiest like 15-year-old dogs I've ever seen, because they're old as they could be, but he's like all they've ever eaten is quail. Like they don't eat
feather on and everything. The feathers get extra fiber. The feet. I used to raise quail here. I was actually making $6,000 a month off of quail chicks when COVID first started, because I had a urban like situation here in San Diego, and everyone went crazy during the lockdown trying to get self-sustaining animals. And a lot of people are like, oh, you could raise quail in a fish tank in your living room if you needed to, like a couple of them. True. So they're like, you could have fresh eggs in an apartment with your quail with you could give them table scraps. They need a little higher protein, but you can feed them like bits of fish, egg and stuff like that than your chickens, because they have been evolved so long to produce an insane amount of eggs. They do like 220 eggs a year, each bird. And then they reproduce way quicker and hatch quicker than chickens, but they're a weird animal that we've made so they can't live on their own. Like if you put quails out in a cage, they won't make.
Nope. You when it comes to quail, you got to have the people I know that do it like in indoor barns.
Yeah. But are they running Bob Whites or are they running Quaternics?
a mixture of a few.
That's awesome. The
like,
bob whites are good for hunters.
Down here in the South, we do have a lot of raise 'em quail, and there's a lot of people that do like their own land to do hunting quail and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like they
have the fly cages.
Yeah, like raise
so
them in their
can...
area and stuff to do all that. Like that's some awesome stuff. And Dan, Ox, just so glad to finally see you in a little while. Nekko, this is one of our other co-hosts. I'm glad he jumped in with us this afternoon. He's on your side of the country, so he knows about all your kind of good stuff going on.
Where at
How's things going, Ox?
I'm in the general LA area.
Oh, really close. I'm in San Diego. Actually, we just moved out to Lakeside from more central San Diego.
Oh, okay, cool. That's actually a really cool part of town.
Oh, yeah. I'm loving it. We walk the dogs and see all the horses and stuff in the morning. So, in an apartment, unfortunately, but
he's another rare one like you there, Ox. He's a guy that's on the West Coast and actually knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah,
it's hard to fucking survive out here, man. It's hard. I mean, it's like, they raise the stakes every damn day.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, every time you drive by the pump, it's another fucking 25 cents a gallon more.
Oh yeah, I gotta do ninja oil changes. You know, you gotta throw your oil in dumpsters, so you don't have to pay dumping fees. And it was crazy. Jiffy Lube the other day, I was like, "Hey, if I bring my own oil and filter, how much would you charge to just drain it for me real quick?" Because I had my tools in storage in the moving process, and they're like, "It'll be $55." And I'm like, "You could lick my nuts for $55, man, dude." It's 15 minutes of work. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
It seems, as a guy on the outside looking in, you know, California seems quite ridiculous in a lot of its means and things. And like, I'm the kind of guy that I'm just like, in my thoughts, I kind of got to write California off. I don't think there's no fixing California. Like they've tried to fix themselves so much that they fixed themselves into the mess that it is today.
I think Charlie Robinson, like his book rings true. The controlled demolition, like California is a great example of a controlled demolition where like they've just regulated it to death. And another example with you guys, like if I was to sell my quail eggs, they recently regulated them. So you used to be able to sell them with less regulations, but now they're regulated the same as chicken eggs. So to sell a quail egg, you have to have 3 licenses: egg producer, egg handler, and egg distributor.
That's why I left New York State.
They are seriously smoking fucking crack out there. Jesus Christ.
Right?
Oh, let me tell you, man. I work as a
couple
chef
years ago.
at
You can sell to a restaurant. Oh, right. Oh shit! Just
I work as a chef at this farmer's market, and like the hoops that these people have to jump through in order to be able to sell their shit here.
Oh,
it's like business should never be harder than me being like, "Hey, I'm selling bananas. Do you want one?" And that's it. That's all it should be. No third parties involved. It's dog shit here because there's 7th parties involved here. It gets so bureaucratic so fast. It's a fucking wonder anyone's still surviving here.
And that's, you know, I mean, as I've never been into California per se, but as I spent some time in New York State for a little while, and not even from there or anything like that. I happened to be there for a short time. And what actually drove me to come back south was the day the cops got called on me because I didn't have a permit for my yard sale. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. And they were like, no, you have to have a permit in the state of New York to have a yard sale. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to be leaving this place soon. Like, this is like, because it's ridiculous. You know, down here in Georgia, depending on where you are, like the closer to Atlanta you get, the more trouble you find, because we do have, Atlanta is nothing but transplants. I try to explain that to people all the time. There's nobody from Georgia in Atlanta. Like everybody in Atlanta is from California, like New York, you know, Texas. They're from everywhere else. And, you know, they have so much space. They got so much going on up there, and they're starting to do the same thing. Like if I was to get anywhere close to Atlanta with my peanut stand, I'd be harassed for my, you know, my street vendor's license and my food permit and whatever else they want to try to do for it. And they're talking about like the way it works in Georgia is because it is county to county. All right. So like I hang out down here in the south of the state where nobody's really bothered by it and get permission from a gas station to use their parking lot. So it's okay anyway. You know, it's like loopholes around the stuff. But like it's amazing to me to see Atlanta beginning to gobble itself up, and the rest of the state, because I know Neptune will back me up here, being like, haha, you guys are just going to have to eat yourselves, because the rest of the state just doesn't fly with any of the shit that they do in Atlanta.
No, they don't. No, it's all you got two real hubs. You got Atlanta, and then Savannah will try to do it a little bit, but there's still enough. There's still enough people who love this city that don't really get down with all the governmental regulation bullshit. So they've danced around it a little bit, but hasn't.
They just proposed a brand new $1 billion stadium for the north side of Atlanta.
Jeez.
And of course, I'm in the comments section going, you do realize that this $1 billion stadium, it comes out of your pocket, right? Like, this is taxpayer money that builds this stadium. They don't just build the stadium because Atlanta wants to.
Oh, dude, don't act like you've never been railroaded before. The government eminent domain shit all the time. That's California life.
Where's our high-speed rail? Right?
You know what?
Taxing us so goddamn hard for that, and I have no goddamn way to get to work via train, let alone anywhere.
You want to talk about wasteful fucking spending? I tell you what, the NFL is a major fucking drain on the American taxpayer.
Big time.
Because I guarantee you the Falcons asked for that fucking stadium, and they're probably going to get it. So with that being said,
the Falcons, the Falcons just got a new stadium.
Sure.
This new stadium that they're proposing is supposed to be built for the Atlanta Hawks, and in hopes to lure back our third NHL team.
That's fucking hilarious. Okay. Atlanta's got no chance.
Professional sports is such a fucking drain on taxpayer funding, mainly because they go in, they lobby the hell out of the government, and then they have to put it to a vote because they're always required to do that. At which point, if it doesn't look like it's going to go that way, they'll go on social media and say, hey, your city doesn't want to give us our new stadium or our new fucking park. And
fucking blame the city instead of blaming themselves for paying for something that every other country in the world pays for. The United States is the only fucking country, and I am mad about it because why the hell are we subsidizing sports teams?
For real.
Other than it's for the circus.
Yeah, they print money for the sports teams.
They swear up and down it promotes job growth, and
they subsidize all this stuff out. They subsidize all this stuff out and then turn around and like the new Georgia Dome is a great example. The original Georgia Dome that we had down here was an amazing piece of work. I've actually got to race cars inside of it because during the monster truck jams and stuff that they have down there inside of it. Well, they decided to tear it down and build a new Georgia Dome. And this new Georgia Dome is not only built with all of this high-tech nonsense on top of it, but like it costs so much to get through the door for any event that it's just absolutely ridiculous. On top of when you get in there paying $9 for a soda and $15 for a sliced pizza and shit like that, because that's just the way these sporting events go. So, like, people are just like the road systems that we've covered time and time again on this show with other people and ourselves. Like, they trick you into paying for this shit repeatedly. They're like, here, we're gonna raise your taxes to make this brand new stadium that you guys really want so that you can see all these brand new sports. Oh, but it's totally going to cost you more money than you can have to actually go watch these sports at this place.
It's unaffordable, and it's part of the whole reason why the entire system is collapsing. Look at the housing prices. Housing prices make no sense, especially in California. The housing prices make no sense in New York. The housing prices in Canada make America look tame. Because if you see the price increase, there's a beautiful video. This guy,
they're
a masterpiece video of showcasing a shithole in Toronto and a castle.
Well, Toronto of all places,
castle in Scotland was beautiful, and it cost the exact same price as the garbage heap in Toronto.
So a big loophole they've kind of found around down here that a lot of people have been doing because Atlanta has caused the Georgia housing market to go completely sideways is people are buying their land and then buying these big metal garages, like these 50 by 80 metal garages. Because first of all, you don't actually have to have a permit to put that metal 50 by 80
And I've
metal
seen how
garage.
they
on
build.
property.
It's pretty cool how you can build inside.
Yeah, I've
Alright.
seen it.
And then so you're down to only having to get your internal building permits after that, as far as like running all your electricity and stuff like that. And even some of that, again, I'm going to say is based truly county to county, because installing appliances, I get to see a lot of this stuff firsthand. And these bigger counties closer to Atlanta that have all this stuff going on, they've got a lot of this kind of, more of a home inspector guy doing things to the T, where you get out to these counties that have absolutely friggin' nothing, and they barely, the county commissioner, the ordinance guy, and the fucking like city councilman are all the same dude, like, because there's only a couple hundred people in this county, and they're not trying to do into all that nonsense. So it's been getting to be more popular out here in the Georgia area, I know for sure, where they're putting up these metal barn buildings and turning the insides into these immaculate, amazing looking houses. From the outside, you're just like, well, what's that metal building? And I say hooray to it, because that stuff is going to stand a lot longer than these BS stick and glue houses that they're putting together today with wood that's just a joke.
So in Japan actually creates houses at almost the same rate we buy houses in relation to their size and everything. But what's fascinating with Japan is the entire country has one code. The entire country, no matter what, has one building system coding structure. So they're the most creative country on earth when it comes to building, because they almost have no limits. And that's why the country has no problems with housing. And they actually have a massive surplus.
Sorry, Jimmy.
I was just gonna say that I heard that there was a guy that he spent all this time building his own house out of mud and rock, and it was like 7 stories tall. And Japan actually ended up building him a house in its place, because all the people of his town felt, that they were like, man, I don't know if this guy's house is safe, but it was a poor guy, but he had this land. So it's a really heartfelt story. I'll try to find it and put it with this episode.
Something I was thinking about when it comes to talking about building code, home manufacturing in the U.S. as fucked up as it is, the thing that depresses the hell out of me the most is, like, if I fly and every time I've been on a plane, I get the window seat. I like looking out the window. But the thing that always depresses the fucking shit out of me is every time I'm going over any populated area, all you see are these little cookie cutter circles on the ground of all these fucking housing developments, and they all look the fucking same.
Urban sprawl, bro. It's the biggest killer of everything.
They're just fancy versions of projects here that they're building a lot in California. It's like, oh, we put stucco on it, so it's not a project, but it's a 6-story tall, no backyard, no fucking balconies. I'm like, no balcony? What type of shit? Doing now.
It's fucking brutal. I was just looking for places to rent. I'm living on some dude's property right now where he's got like 3 townhouses on the back, and he's got the house on the front of the lot, with a long driveway. But I lucked out because everyone else I know out here is like stuck in those exact apartments you're talking about, that communist block fucking housing.
Dude, there's even
with
worse
air
thing.
conditioning.
Oh, thanks fucking Christ, we got air conditioning at least.
It keep you in there so you're not out going talking to real people. It's like keep you comfortable in your cubicle or whatever.
Yeah.
Get your Uber Eats.
Yeah, fuck you, stay put.
What do you guys I joke around about it quite frequently on here that the only person that we could see is going up for the Democratic nomination for president in the next go around would be the governor of California. What do you guys
there's some
No, it has to be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Please do not give me Bateman, American Psycho. Do not give me American Psycho.
He also looks like that Scientology church guy. They look like they could be brothers.
All right, so I got a bone to pick with our governor, Gavin Newsom, right? So you guys know what I do for a profession. I am a chef. So when COVID rolled around, that dude absolutely obliterated everybody in my entire career that I ever met was reeling from it, right? I mean, this whole entire situation, the way it was handled by California, I mean, by the federal government in general, but especially California, was beyond asinine. I had to get a card to fucking go eat at certain places and shit like that. It was unbelievable, this kind of shit.
Oh yeah, while his winery was still open.
Yeah.
That shit was
by the way, if all you folks out there don't know, his brand of wines is Plump Jack. Do not buy it.
Yeah, him and Pelosi going out to fucking dinner while they were telling everyone else to stay home. Kiss my ass.
Yeah, at the French Laundry, no less.
It's like, man, I should have spent my time during COVID just following her stock trades, and I would have been better off than working.
Well, you know, actually, who was the best at it, evidently, and people don't talk about it? Dan Crenshaw.
Really?
Look at the
eye
chart.
patch
Dan
guy?
Crenshaw is
Saw what a snake is into investments, huh?
Dude, Solid Snake is part of the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten to the point I'm so jaded on politics that I believe it's all soap opera, and these characters are all here because they play a role where they trigger certain people. They're like, I'm the boogeyman for this group of people, and I'm the boogeyman for this group of people.
Yeah. They're just paid
100%
actors.
right.
Politics is acting for ugly people.
Yeah, we don't have photos of the people who are actually pulling the strings. We have no idea what their names are. We don't know what they look like.
Well, if you do mention names that are close, your podcast gets ripped down. Like I remember Sam Tripoli mentioned a certain family last name, and he got just wrecked for that. So they don't even mention it again. Like a family that I'm not even gonna say the letter.
You can mention it here.
I don't know.
He's already been labeled. They were actually labeled by Bellingcat, which is a propaganda arm of the U.S. government. So they've already gotten the highest honor of being officially labeled as propaganda.
Interesting.
Of something. Propaganda saying we're the propagandas. That's hilarious. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting what you're allowed to talk about and not allowed to talk about, when you're allowed to talk about, who's allowed to talk about certain things. Like, so I'm like, as long as I'm doing it while I'm smoking weed, that they can't take me seriously enough that I'm like a whistleblower or something.
Scenarios in Minecraft.
It's plausible. Exactly. Plausible deniability.
Well, and then you get in here and you get into episodes. You end up getting into episodes where I'm going on a tangent about being locked in a turtle-shaped spaceship, and they're just like, "Oh, well, this guy's completely insane." So we don't have to really.
Yeah, we're just all talking hypotheticals. We're not talking about actual, like, this planet that we're in. No, we're not in the same planet as you. If we haven't figured it out by now, we actually live in a parallel world, because yours is so fucked. We actually don't even live there. We just talk about it.
This is a D&D game, right? We're talking about our D&D world.
Yeah, the whole time.
This is my avatar.
I've always, I like, you made mention of it earlier, like the Dave Chappelle clone thing. That goes into one of my all-time favorite conspiracies, of course, the actor-based reality and such. And a lot of what you're saying there resonates with me too. I like to put on the show and poke fun at every politician that's out there, but I know, as well as I think most of our listeners out there know, like, those guys aren't really anything. They're just puppets. They're punching bags. There's somebody there for us to poke fun at. You know what I mean? Like that. And here recently, and I know every time I bring this up, I've made everybody else in the room cringe with me. But here recently, I've been checking out this guy named Michael Terrison, and he has this fascinating conspiracy called the female Illuminati. And like, he ties all of this back to like this wild idea that the people that are at the like top of the chain are all female, or at least not male humans in that aspect, but he thinks they're female, and that they are the reason that it seems like they're looking for the downfall of man. Like, they don't want a world where man exists. That's why they have all of these agendas that are, clearly anti-masculine and such like that.
I could see that being possible, mainly just because like it's usually the polar opposite. So if the world says man is all powerful, then the reality is probably woman is all powerful. It's always the opposite is probably what's real. I'm one of those gods that are like, what are the odds that the everybody that's always talking about a god? I was like, if there's a god, if there's a sky daddy out there, y'all, like, I don't think it's a sky daddy. I think it's a sky mommy, because only women are this fucking vengeful. Let's be real. Yeah. I mean, being married, It's insane. The energy that they can pull out of any. I'm like, how do you have energy for this level?
I'm on number 2, bro. I completely understand. Like, it's one of those deals. Like, it's just, and I'm not trying to bash on women. I hope anybody out there don't take me wrong and such. I'm just trying to poke a little bit of fun. But like, it's just, it does seem like there is something that is anti-man. Like that, it seems like over the past at least 100 years, if not longer, they have been slowly putting the chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay for real. Like, and it's not even a joke anymore because it really is happening. Like, and it's happening to even us. Like the Japanese just proved that feeding a certain kind of soy to catfish turned them from male to female. So there's soy in everything we have if you're getting the things out of a box.
Well, that's interesting.
Right. Like,
chickens can change sex.
And they can. I have witnessed
female
it.
Chicken,
I will back you up.
And it's situational. So I wonder if humans have the same thing too. If there's like a lack of a male, someone has to step up and take that role. And I don't want to say this explains butch lesbian potentially, but when there's a lack of them in the chicken kingdom, I won't say the animal world.
Yes.
I don't know the whole, but when there's a lack of a rooster, there will be a dominant female, and sometimes it'll take the point where it starts humping the other chickens. It will crow. It will do everything a male chicken does. Like
I will 100%. And I have this is again. I wish Bandit was here because he's actually witnessed it now himself too.
They can change sex, right?
Yes, that if you keep too many chickens and they're all female, one will totally become a male. Like it's 100% a thing. I've witnessed it myself on my own farm. Bandit got to witness it to the point that he was like, I swear I got rid of all the roosters, Jim. Why do I have another one? And I was like, well, here's the bad news, buddy. And
I wonder how documented it is. Do they have an exact detail of what's the process?
A lot of times they tell you it's a myth, but there is documentation of this happening, especially in the farm world. Like this is, you could ask any farmer, and they're going to be like, nope, that's why you got to have a rooster. Like,
well, every farmer has their, like, when you look at the scale and numbers, you're running experiments, social experiments every single day. Like you have your own, and your chickens are all separated sometimes in pens of hundreds. You can see different stuff, and their life cycles is so short. And so, especially with their meat chickens or something like that, you can see all these interesting things. And like, even if you change the light spectrum, if you put it from I think a red light will calm them, but if you change it to a blue light, they'll start killing each other, which is the craziest thing for a long time. And or fluorescence without a certain spectrum, like they'll start plucking their own feathers out and doing weird stuff. So animals and cows and stuff are the same way. You can only use a certain light spectrum.
Chickens are wild, man. Like I've had some pretty off the wall experiences with them, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the slightest thing sometimes too that sets them array.
I just feel like chickens are like machines with very primitive scripts. So they basically operate as biological machines for us.
I mean, birds aren't real, so it's quite plausible.
They convert, I guess, stuff into stuff we can eat. I mean,
yeah, they convert the unedible into edible.
Yeah.
Well, chickens are great for a compost pile. Like that's one thing that I absolutely loved about having, because man, at one point in time there were over 100 here, like on a regular basis, which is a little out of hand. But having so many of them and having your compost pile, like I had like an open kind of spot where I just put wood up and made a wall, and then just kept piling the stuff in there, a mixture of chicken shit, pig shit, rabbit shit, food scraps, all the above. And I was always throwing worms in there, and then would let the worms go in there for a day or two, and then set the chickens free on it. And like they would turn that thing for me better than anybody could ever turn it by hand, on top of, adding to it and stuff like that. And the folks around me used to tell me that I was making black gold, which is good fertilizer and stuff for everything. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm letting them do their thing. And they're just like, this is the natural way of doing it. Like this isn't the stuff that you're buying from Miracle Grow or from Scott's or whatever in the store. This stuff actually will help you produce amazing quality food and more. Like I've seen a guy recently a lot online that is using these wastes and stuff and figured out how to concentrate the gas from it. Like, and I'm not talking about the guy we've had on here, Luis. I'm talking about that other guy you guys have been sharing with me that has been doing a bunch of amazing things. He happens to be down here in Atlanta and won't speak to me, unfortunately. I keep trying, but he's using the methane from like house scraps and stuff like that to basically run his house on the methane gas instead of like propane and stuff like that. It's an amazing concept and another route away from a system that has been completely centralized to the point of regulation and control where you have to choose what they say you have to choose. Like if you're on natural gas, you have to have the natural gas that runs through that city. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have a choice.
So you can buy both these things on Amazon now. I think it's a biodiesel composter. I'm not sure if it's on Amazon exactly. And that will give you the equivalent of natural gas for your house. So you can use it for doing anything you'd use for natural gas, cooking, heating, all that type of shit. And it doesn't take that much. It takes like what would be a normal food scraps for your day. And that's not even having a farm, just like a regular household.
I think I saw that kit the other day. That's like
a big plastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
big
the guy
bag.
was saying that with some trash, he was able to make energy for a whole week.
He's down here where I am. I've found him. I have located him. His company is out of McDonough, Georgia.
Oh, the guy that does the bag, dude. You should have him.
And you can use that.
You should get him to talk to Julian.
Yeah, because I think him and Julian would work well.
It's different, but not that different because they actually both do syngas out of it.
Yeah,
they just have different processes.
And think about putting those two beautiful minds together. And
they need to talk. Julian should work with all those.
Have you guys used solar generators at all? They used to be like a mythical kind of thing. Like, oh, you couldn't really get enough power from a solar thing, and
you can in the South.
That's insane.
My boat, I have a little canoe that I go everywhere in, and I just bought an electric motor for it and bought a panel that sits up above me on my umbrella, and
like a 200 watt or 100 watt,
and it keeps my two 12-volt marine batteries charged all day. I could go anywhere I wanted to, and it's never going to die. Like it just keeps pumping. And
they were.
I think it's amazing.
A lot, very portable and nice. We are at the cusp of making solar panels actually viable the
batteries.
The batteries, if they figure out solid state,
they have, but not commercial. Yeah,
exactly. Or graphene. Fuck it, graphene.
Yeah,
let's go straight to graphene. The safest. That's not lithium based. That's why it's the best. Graphene based batteries will be the future.
So the lithium right now you can get really cheap. And it doesn't last a long time. It doesn't not many cycles.
Electric cars will be running on graphene. That's the future. Whoever's betting on lithium is a dying bet because in China, lithium cars are exploding left and right. The reason why they experiment electric cars in China, even though they have more regulations, they explode constantly. There's videos you can look up, electric cars exploding in China, and you're gonna just find endless. It takes 40,000 gallons to shut off an electrical car fire. It takes 5,000 gallons to shut off a regular fire.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Disproportionate. Electric cars are a very huge danger. Plus, we don't have the energy grid for it.
And there's what it boils down to really though is they're looking for ways to profit off of it. Like they're between the idea of profiting off of it, and their goal goes right along with the light bulb conspiracy or whatever. They don't want to make something that actually ends up working forever because they don't make money anymore.
Well, the problem really lies in governments realizing, wow, it's a stupid idea to put essentially bombs everywhere because you can make these things explode. And firefighters,
they're putting refrigerators.
Tell me that the worst fires are all being electric cars.
I now know the two chemicals. They are charging the cooling system of refrigerators with isobutane, and they are lining the inside of the refrigerators with cyclopentane, both of which are highly combustive and flammable and are making bombs for everyone's house. Don't buy a refrigerator post 2020.
Holy shit.
Don't do it.
And it's probably a smart fridge that if you say anything negative, it'll just pull up on you.
It's becoming the standard in all of the fridges now. The only 2 fridges I've found so far that don't have them, one is a European model called a Vitra, and the other one is made by Bosch, and it's called Medea. But the rest of them, your Frigidairs, your General Electrics, your Whirlpools, they are ticking time bombs in your house now.
You need to make another report on that, because I'm telling you, a lot of people should know about this. And
yeah,
you showed me pictures of it. You guys, he was just like working. It's like, here, look, and it's like a gigantic label in the back of the fridge. Just by the way, you could die because of your fridge.
Where you store your kids' milk.
Yeah, it's quite ridiculous. You know what I mean? I guess part of me is like, okay, I guess that a bit of me I understand, because a lot of that other stuff they were using is toxic, but I feel like there are better options.
It's the cheapest option. The there's 2 options. There's 2 reasons. It's a banned chemical because of regulations. It's a expensive chemical because of like the new, again, regulations. You have to see if this is happening in the European models or if this is happening in the Japanese models, because if it's not, or the South Korean models, because you also have to think, it's like, okay, the main producers of high-end fridges or even fridges nowadays, like there's the United States, there's Korea, China, like there's all these main, but each one, they're big enough markets where you could see like they will make a South Korean version for sure, and they'll make a separate one. So they're big enough regulation wise, so they're the best ones to compare to. And if they don't have it, you know it's some American BS or European. Who knows who started it?
Well, you know, that's funny you're bringing it, I guess, in that way. Like Whirlpool, they tote themselves. I love this. I love to bust this bubble on everybody too, actually. They tote themselves on all of their boxes. It says American made, but nobody realizes that they're just talking about America, the country, not America. Like, I mean, America, the continent, not America, the country, because like they're made mostly in Mexico and shipped over here. And people are like, no, they're not. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm like, the parts get shipped from across seas to Mexico where they get put together, and there you go. Like, that's why they can still stamp American made on them, because on a technicality, it is the continent of America. It is the continent of America. So,
oh man, I don't know why this reminded. I just saw a TikTok, or a reel or whatever, one of those short form videos of a guy showing Warren Buffett tripping out when being asked why he sold all of his billions of dollars worth of the silicone chip company in Taiwan. And he was like, there's maybe seismic activity, but that'd be really rare. I don't really know why I sold it. And it's like, what the fuck?
Wait.
And it's
when
like,
when did he say he stole all his thing in TSMC?
Yeah. And so
that's not good.
And the US were basically like, they were like, yo, if China moves on Taiwan, we're gonna bomb Taiwan's the chip factories and take all them.
You know, we're fucked when they start shipping them out. So there'll be warning signs when they start shipping the scientists out. If not, they already started.
The scientists are gonna go,
and then they're gonna blow up
an earthquake.
This is the crazy part. People don't know. TSMC also depends on a European company from the Netherlands. So there's a third player in this. So there's the United States, Taiwan, and the third one is it starts with an A. They make a portion of those machines that build the chips. So people don't understand. It's like there's the chip makers, but there's also the makers of the machines for the chip makers. And it's this Dutch company that's had a like massive influence throughout the chip making process through the decades. So people don't know it's really the Dutch.
Dude, they have their hands in everything.
Oh, the Dutch have, exactly. The Dutch have
historically, damn.
Because they've kept it in their family. That the only reason they've been able to survive is because
literally
most of those families are old money and old business that just kept going and going, and that's why they become so good at it. It's like, at least culturally in business, they're really good at what they do. which
Yeah.
is something to be like, oh, that's good about the culture. They don't,
Even
they
though-
don't love
even
to
though
kill
they're
people or
total-
sell people. That part's
Even-
also good.
Even though they're totally the cousin fuckers.
With the Dutch,
Yes.
The talking about American made reminded me of my favorite bit. Y'all want to see Rush Limbaugh and Seth MacFarlane talk about American made products on Family Guy?
oh yeah. Let me see.
Yes.
You can't hear it.
Oh yeah, no sound. It says mute at the bottom of the screen.
Unmute.
I'm muted.
The TV audio is muted potentially. The video audio. Fun when we get glitches.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah. Here we go. Y'all should be able to hear it now.
Is that a new coffee machine? Oh, yeah, I took the liberty of replacing your old one with a new American-made coffee machine. In fact, I got you a bunch of new top-notch American-made stuff.
What else did you buy?
Oh, a couple things. That light fixture, new heat regulator on your stove, your man bra, your garbage disposal, your dishwasher, and your new cat.
I mean,
You know,
obviously
what, that
none of
just
those
proves
brands
we're-
are American made. They just packaged them in the United States.
well, it proves we're the best at planned obsolescence, man. Once that shit came around.
Yeah.
I mean, we made it. We designed it. Like,
But I know-
the majority of the build makers were in the United States first. So
Well, it's a class in every college is to make sure like how long a spring is supposed to last in whatever component. You're supposed to make it at a certain time frame. You're not supposed to make it.
Yeah, I work in the field of IT, and yeah, unfortunately, I know a lot about planned obsolescence because it's a byproduct of the design. It's an encouragement to drive the consumer to buy more of that product.
Yep.
Because
the
like
batteries have been one of the biggest pains, but
20,
the batteries have been getting better at least.
tw- 20 years ago, you could get a PC that would run 7 or 8 years, and Microsoft got really creative with this. Pretty much ever since Windows 7, it's gotten progressively worse. That you could probably get 3-4 years, baby, out of a computer, unless you have future-proofed it and overspent way beyond what it is actually worth to buy that computer in the first place because of planned obsolescence and the introduction of new products to the market, that you've just wasted your money.
I mean, there's also the mix element of our chip evolution has actually been almost 18, like every 18 months. Moore's law has been followed. almost
Yeah.
to a T, which is
Yeah.
insane that somebody predicted that and it's still running even after he passed away, which he just passed away like not too long
I mean,
ago.
I see the planned obsolescence up close in the appliance world too, because I have
But that's
physically
the
seen.
logical obsolescence. That's what I mean. Difference. It's because we actually are progressing at every 18 months. We are doubling the performance. So that's just also a sign of how much we're advancing. It's like obsolescence by inefficiency.
Well, that's certain industries.
But is it? Because
certain
I mean,
industries that can create.
look at how they've turned them into bombs because of trying to find the cheapest.
Oh, you
most
got to figure
efficient
out
way to
why
do
the
it.
hell that's happening. That'd be an amazing story.
But
Why do
Yeah,
you mean
that-
the fridges?
But I'm saying though, like I've run across, not only fridges from the 60s and 70s that still work, but recently I took out one of the really coolest stoves I've ever seen that was still made by General Motors Frigidaire when General Motors made Frigidaire, and it opens like a suicide door, and the damn thing still works. Like, this is from the 50s and it's a wall oven and it still works to this day.
Those
And I
Sears
guarantee
deep
the one-
freezers run forever too.
The one that we replaced it with will be dead in under 10 years. Which is just, I think that's ridiculous. Like people are spending almost $3,000 on a pretty fridge, and hell, even a small bang up fridge now, brand new, is over $1,000.
We're amused by the littlest conveniences on those products too. Oh, this one's got a touch screen.
You can
Just
play
music while I'm
Happy
pouring myself a
Friends.
drink.
How fucking dumb is that? I have a chest freezer from 1960 fucking 3. All right,
Yeah.
it's a Sears
Probably
cold
works great.
spot. It's a Sears cold spot. It's cast iron seals on all that shit. It's never gonna break. I had a capacitor fuck itself, and I bought another one for $7 goddamn. That thing is
Fucking
faithful as the day is long, and when time means nothing, that fridge will still be kicking. All right.
Now, see, here's something I find interesting is throughout the 90s up into the early 2000s, they started pushing the front load washer and dryers on everyone, with see-through and all that stuff. The commercial style is what they were trying to sell it to people as. And
A laundromat.
in the past 5 years, washer and dryers have gone backwards in time because everybody wants the top load, just the click buttons, turn dials, no door locks and stuff like that, because all of that extra bells and whistles was getting to be too much for a lot of these grannies and a lot of other folks that were just like, fuck, I just want it to be able to wash clothes, and if it breaks, it just needs a part replaced on it. The company Allied, which creates the Speed Queen washer and dryer, they're actually out of Canada. They make one of the top of the line washers and dryers, and it's the same exact model they've been making since the 60s. And it literally, if something breaks, you could place a belt and it's fixed, or suspension rods and it's fixed. Like, there's not boards and stuff on them anymore like that. They're going back to the classic style because sometimes
Simple is better.
Sometimes it makes more sense to get to a point and stop instead of continuing to advance.
I subscribe to the idea that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes. But
engineers don't often subscribe to the idea of Occam's razor, where the simplest answer usually is the right one. Engineers like to stroke their ego,
Well, there's a picture of an old truck where the whole engine bay it would come out like this instead of having to like come in from the top. And it was a picture of the meme saying like, "Oh, the mechanics were like, this is way too easy," or some shit like that. It's like it's like now to get to any component on your engine, you have to remove fucking like 6 giant pieces, like your air intake, to change your spark plugs. It's like because this motor is origami put in there and shit.
Well,
so the other day I had to jump a car, and to jump this guy's car, I had to remove a couple panels because his battery was hidden like in the top right corner, and you couldn't use regular jumper sticks. So I had to like MacGyver stuff on the end of my jumper sticks to get to his prongs. I'm like, this is how. So I wonder how tow trucks are getting them out of here.
A lot of Dodge products, a lot of Mopar products are putting them in the trunk underneath the floorboard of the trunk for some reason. Like that's
like, how do I jump it?
It's been a common thing in the past few recent years, and then they have what they call the places up front where you're supposed to be able to attach to actually be able to jump it. But it's not something that anybody knows. People are like, "What the hell is this?"
No, you have to look up the car model exactly.
I'm also an advocate,
for example,
though,
that you might have used might have had a contact point designed in the car.
True.
Looked at that model, you won't know where the contact points for the batteries are.
I'm also a big advocate though for going backwards in time when it comes to vehicles, though. Like, having access to a carbureted vehicle gives me access to something like syngas, where everything nowadays is mostly wires and electronics, and if you don't know anything about it, you're pretty much fucked. We had a point in time where you could pretty much do absolutely everything you needed to do to your own vehicle in the comfort of your own home.
You see in California, they're making it illegal to do your own oil changes, and because they're saying it's not green. Because any basic car maintenance is not green, they're like, you might not dispose of it properly, and so you're gonna have to go to like, if you want to do your own, you're gonna have to go to like a WeWork for like fucking to do your own oil change. You can't do it in your driveway. We already have that for the air conditioner. You can't legally work on an air conditioner in California because of the gas in there.
Of all the dumb shit they enact out there, I'm just waiting on the day that California finally copies Britain and fucking starts requiring TV licenses or some
No,
stupid
no.
shit.
We need them to ban the knives so everybody realizes, oh, that's what happens when you ban the guns.
Well, that's one thing. I'm lucky. I'm still allowed to have a bunch of guns as long as you do jump through a bunch of hoops and pay way more, and you're limited to 10 bullet magazines.
So fucking stupid.
Semi-automatic.
And have a pistol grip on a semi-auto.
Yeah. Half the guns aren't even available here because they don't want to pay for the licensing. Like
And
a bunch of cool.
stock.
Here, let's ban a wrist strap for your arm. Just
That's why I
think
like
it makes your
Missouri.
gun shoot
Missouri,
faster.
Missouri has openly said they refuse to work with the ATF, the FBI, or any other unconstitutional, right infringing groups that are outside of their state. Like I'll give it to Missouri there. They've put it openly out there that they're not going to do anything that the ATF wants to do about anybody's guns. All their rules are just make believe to them, and I'm 100% on the boat with that. I don't understand why the South puts up with the shit it does in a lot of places.
It's interesting. For being from California, I have a theory that they make up, and especially about Florida, they make up these other states as being really bad and scary, and the country's really scary. And you look at all the scary movies, it's always like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes, like Cabin in the Woods. It's like if you're outside the city, you're going to get fucked up by some hillbillies or some shit. And it's like it's the complete opposite. Once you go into the city, you're going to get fucked up by some Karen who's going to sue you for just walking your dog or something. Like,
listen, we might look like the Hills Have Eyes guys, but we're totally inviting you for dinner, not trying to turn you into dinner. Like that's the difference. Like we can't help it,
So the reality is, when it comes to even guns, the majority of the gun deaths they say happen in the States, but what they don't write is those are suicides.
Yes.
It's all suicides. 70% of the reported numbers are suicides, and like nobody talks about that.
Oh yeah.
Like we have a suicide problem. We have a social problem, a gigantic social problem. We don't pay people enough. Like basically, we're creating a slave class that on a mass scale, and we also don't tax properly, and we also have a government with no control over itself. So it's like all three things happen simultaneously.
Yeah.
Well, Luis, I mean, I don't think there's really any way to tax properly because no matter which way you look at it, man, taxation is theft. So, like, now you give me a checklist of things that I can voluntarily sign up for that I would support, I'd be down for something like that, like, for my community. But I'm not for giving them all this money and they claim it's for my roads when it's actually
that's what I mean. Exactly.
In other countries.
They're not held accountable, and I do love when Iceland just jailed all the bankers and their economy flourished.
I support this.
Invalidate the debts. Ooh, wow. What an amazing idea. Let's invalidate debts that are basically found on nothing. They're just air.
I think that may happen in the Great Reset.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
But it's also going to be your house deed is going to be.
Oh,
yeah.
Your house deed is going to be invalidated as well. Your car deed is invalidated.
Acquire as much possible debt as you can.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just how you do it.
It's like this interest rate doesn't even really matter if that's the case.
No, interest rate eventually will go down, but it's just the inflation part.
Inflation is made up.
To a degree too, because it could be technically much worse. I mean,
because it's just the bankers, bro. Like they're like, this is again. I'm for this. I say we arrest the bankers. Like I'm always hearing people whining and talking about arrest Hillary. Like let's just bypass that. We need to arrest the bankers, bro.
Yep.
And the politicians are one of them because they're all pieces of shit. Don't get me wrong, but like
the bankers. It's the bankers.
The bankers.
We're talking the bankers at the highest levels. We're not talking about the guy that works in the bank that
No.
We're not talking about your friend that helped you with investments. We're not talking about any of those people. We're talking about people with so much fucking money. They have no idea how much money they have.
Note the meme in the chat.
They may be wrong by millions of dollars. How much?
Just say it. Just say it. Come on.
No, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it this episode.
I don't have my soundboard this episode, so I can't just plug it and for you instead.
Yeah, but yet note the second meme: Vietnamese sentenced corrupt bankers to death by firing squad.
I've
Vietnam.
heard,
That, please.
I mean, Vietnam, if people don't know, is still a communist
Industrial
country.
society.
You know what? You know what? For all
Good
it's
old
worth,
Teddy?
I'll give them credit for taking the right action and putting corrupt bankers where they belong.
Well, I'll tell you guys this. I know we all think it could never happen here, which is exactly why it's going to happen here in a really ugly way when it does happen.
What exactly do you think will happen in California?
People are going to start killing bankers and start killing all these politicians. It's going to get really fucking crazy one day, I feel like.
well, I
And I
think we
don't know
will.
if
I mean, once
I don't
Fred
know if the
starts
government
actually
has put
pulling out
enough-
the guillotines, like for real, because they were singing
yeah.
that they were going to pull out the guillotines for Macron because he was in a party or something, and they were literally all singing that they were going to.
Dude,
take
France
out
has
the
been on
guillotines
fire for like a month.
Yeah.
It's
They've
saying
been
something that
protesting
the
for 2 years straight. This is
Yeah.
been progressing. It's been
Yeah.
millions of people on the streets. When
It's-
it's
Did you see
millions,
Israel is
That's what I'm
protesting
saying.
too?
People
I
are
mean,
pissed
Israel
off.
is like this tiny. But yes,
Yeah.
Israel is protesting
But
hard.
they've been very submissive population in general.
Oh yeah, they
until
took
now.
the 4 shots, and now they're
Which-
dying.
the government
That was
relies
the one
on
thing.
just
That was the one thing that almost got me to take it. I'm like, wait, if they're giving them that must be the safe one, or what? Like, what is that?
the,
I'm like,
No,
the government in this country relies on its population being this docile, knowing that people.
that's
would
why there's
swing their-
fluoride in the water. Why the fuck is there fluoride in the water? Jim
just
Bob,
like farm animals. There's a
Okay.
whole system in keeping them docile.
Guess
I
it all
don't
came
drink
full
my
circle.
Fluoride. I don't take
We're-
fluoride. I
We're,
don't drink this
we're just
tap
we're
water.
just we're just free range. Like we're all trapped on this prison.
Yeah, open
We're
air
free range
prison.
of it. Yeah, open air prison. But like, I mean, I and I don't actually like to be, and I'm not trying to be the just ignore it kind of guy. But at the same time, I'm also like, well, I see a lot of things in like my own community and in my own world face to face that contradict a lot of what you hear online and stuff like that. Like a big polarized issue right now, of course, is definitely in the world of the ideas of the digital currency and stuff. And I'm the guy that's sitting here telling you, yeah, that's cool. When you go to show up to my farm, though, you better have beans and bullets to trade because your digital numbers don't mean squat to me. And like when I talk to people around here and see people around here in my area, cash is a big thing. People are still big into using cash in the South, not just myself. A lot of us just refuse it in a different area, and I see a lot of pushback. And then I see the pushback in areas, believe it or not, there is pushback in places like California and Chicago, for example. Even though Chicago's on fire right now, it's still an example of a lot of pushback because people are getting sick of this shit. Like they are finally starting to get to the people that just want to be left alone. And I'm seeing it myself too. Like it's just to me, it's great. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's the Great Reset, but I think it's more Great Awakening. Like I think more and more people, I see myself every day, finally catching on to the nonsense that these fools been doing for 100+ years.
That's what Sam Tripoli always says. He says something like the reason all the shit is happening so much is because they're losing, or like whoever's trying to pull all these things this is like the last clawing breath, because maybe celestially or time frame this is supposed to be a time of great awakening or elevated consciousness.
This is such
like
a last hurrah. That's why they're throwing all the cards on the table at once, in the past 3 years especially.
There's a fun one. Okay, so every 247 years, Pluto does its orbit, per se.
Oh, shit.
Guess what happened 247 years ago? French Revolution, the American Revolution.
Oh, shit.
247 years ago. So,
Well, I mean, an empire only lasts about 250 years.
hey, there's that too.
So, and we're coming right up to that point. And like, I was saying, like, I don't, people are also always worried about like outside interference and stuff like that. I see a lot of polarization into the world of like the United States, I see the United States going back more into kind of what it was at one point in time, more of a bunch of separate tribes, a bunch of separate states, all doing kind of their own different thing. But I really don't ever foresee anybody truly trying to come here, because I can't reiterate enough on this show how many just registered guns are in the United States alone. That doesn't cover anything that, you know, was handed down by great grandpa, or, you know, brought back by your uncle from Vietnam and stuff like that. Like there's
I mean, it's not a joke. They're trying to take away the guns. Like they are 100%.
And they are always trying, but I truly don't ever foresee that. Like there are so many people that I even know personally that would be the place. Even I'm prepared as it is, but hell, I got people that I know I'd be going to hide at, because they're even more prepared than me if it was to ever come to something like that.
I have friends with arsenals. So they're like, why do you have an arsenal? For my neighbors. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, 100%.
He told me, if everything goes to shit, my house is available. My house will be a refuge.
Like I don't have a room to store food, but guns don't take as much space. So,
hey, and you know, I mean, and I the arsenal thing idea too. Like that's a lot of what I mean, though. You know, you're looking at your own community. I think when a lot of people are like, you know, focus local and stuff like that, there's that. I have a little bit bigger aspirations. Like I truly would love to gather, like my crew here, of course, that's on the show, even the ones that aren't included with us today, and quite the handful of other people, and end up with a piece of land where we all could just kick it off ourselves until our time's to go, and the rest of it can all burn down around us while we're up on our mountaintop. Like that's just my thoughts and stuff on it. But like I don't know. I believe life's going to keep going on. I believe things are going to keep moving, and I don't foresee, you know, humanity itself stopping. I see these guys that are in these places of power, and all of their simulations have lost at the end of all of their simulations. They can't actually figure out how to do it, because eventually the people always revolt, because there's clearly more of us than there is of them. And a lot of us just want to do our day-to-day and raise our families and, you know, try to do the best we can. And the minute that you make it to the point that we can't do our day-to-day and stuff like that, like that, I think that's when you're going to get more people. Like I know during the time of Winnie the Flu that there was a lot of kind of like that, but like my life never stopped. I still got up and had to go to work every single morning. Like I still had to continue doing my stuff. I never wore a mask. I ended up losing a job because of the whole mask thing when things got a little far, and because I wouldn't test or any of it. I was not partaking in any medical experiments whatsoever. But like I immediately found a job again and was right back to work. And my life progressed a good bit. You know, I can honestly say I'm making the most that I've ever made in my life, even though it doesn't seem like it because of inflation. But like things progressed a lot more for me than they went back during that downtime. And I think there were a lot of people that landed on their own 2 feet and progressed in a better way than they thought it was going to. And there are so many people that have started homesteads and started, you know, their own intentional communities and stuff already, that's something you're not going to be able to kill. You know, you might be able to wrangle up everybody in LA, or a good chunk of everybody in LA, and a good chunk of everybody in New York City. But even places like the Bronx are going to be completely unconquerable by any kind of government force. Like
they're going to be, it's going to turn into the war. It's going to turn into,
oh my God.
New York is going to convert. And I mean, again, I'm telling you, all we need to do is just kick out all the politicians and reveal all the corruption, and the city
I give New York City a hard time. I give New York City the hard time, but the Bronx could save America. Like those dudes up there, bro, if they were to ever try to set foot and start their gun control and everything else like that in a place like the Bronx, you're going to see hellfire. Like it's going to be the 80s Bronx all over again. People bombing the damn houses and shit, because they're not going to stand for it. Like, and I think stuff like that's beautiful. I really do. And I think that a lot of these country places that are already country, like where I am, life is just going to continue. Like Atlanta might catch on fire, but the rest of us down here are going to be like, cool, we all know what we're doing and know our part. Like, just continue as life as it goes. It's a wild card. I really do. And I understand a lot of people in the world today are worried and in a fear state, but I think that is still just a control state, and you need to let loose. And
homesteading is good because it also teaches you like to be self-reliant. So in most cases, I think overall it's a good movement. It'll likely never be absolutely necessary. I never believe that the system will ever collapse to the point that it'll actually be unusable. But being self-reliant in cases of emergencies, in cases of special moments, like emergencies happen, if you have that mentality, you protect yourself. So that is one of the best types of mentalities to have, is to be self-reliant and to have agency for yourself and your family. So that power alone that comes from people that do that is worth everything. Thankfully, they're prepping for nothing. Things are not going to go that south. I would say nature itself is still our greatest enemy because we've been fucking with it. It's not our bombs, it's nature itself.
Like a solar flare or some shit, or I don't know.
Yeah, that alone will fuck everything. And we don't have any influence over them that we know of, unless we got some
that
really
we know
crazy
of,
shit.
right?
Unless the Large Hadron Collider is fucking with the sun and we don't know about
The sun's a big
I
machine.
don't believe it's possible. But what if the Large Hadron Collider is actually fucking with our sun? We don't know that. We don't, the level of physics that they're fucking with, we don't know the scale of it. If they can build a, like, we know nothing about nothing and we think we know something, but we really know nothing. So yeah, who knows what they're fucking around with there? They're altering reality in those machines.
I wanted to ask you guys, I just saw this documentary last night on Rumble, and it was like, it felt like a scary movie. Just like the visuals and everything like that. And it reminded me of when COVID first started. I was watching YouTube videos and you'd see like people in China just like fall over. And that's when it kind of like got me at first. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a bioweapon. Like maybe this is something to actually worry about. Maybe it's not like some flu, because you're seeing these videos of people just falling like dead in the street or like having a stroke or something in China. And then after watching this documentary, it just was like flashbacks to that. Have you guys seen Died Suddenly on Rumble?
I don't think I have.
Oh my God, dude. You might want to watch that shit. It's about mortuaries. It's about what they're pulling out of the cadavers, like people that have been dying after the first rollout came out, and they're pulling these like things that aren't blood clots, but they act similar to blood clots that look like calamari or jellyfish, and they're like, some of them are like 3 feet long, and it's causing people to just like, news anchors, they'll show a highlight reel of like 20 news anchors will just be talking to
I have seen that. Like I think I know what you're talking about now, where like all those news anchors are talking about the same thing. We've actually shown that before on the show.
And they talk about like Malthusian is, they like do a good thing about wrapping up like a bunch of different things that could be involved in this, and like why it would be doing this to people. And it was just, I mean, it was like fucking scary movie.
So one of the reasons actually is how you inject the vaccine. So there's certain vaccine procedures that were supposed to be followed. The World Health Organization, I believe, even suggested that,
like the cold temperature and shit like that.
No. So you have to kind of pinch the patient and then inject, and you have to take out blood to check if you've hit a muscle. So
that's like how they do cows, kind of.
So no, it's done for certain vaccines for certain people because it cannot go into your veins.
Oh,
if
interesting.
It goes into your blood. You're fucked.
It was trippy, and in this video,
that's
then
what's been killing kids. By the way,
there's kids falling over in it, and then they pull this thing that like none of these guys have ever seen before, and then he's like in a thing with 100 people who are mortuary guys, and he's like, "Hey, have any of you guys seen this?" And everyone there's like, "Yeah, dude, we've seen this since like January of whatever year. Like this is the first time we've seen it, but now we've seen it like almost in every single body."
January 2021.
Yeah.
What happened before that?
Yeah, right. And the guys on the thing were like, I'd never been anti anything in my life, but after seeing what I'm seeing firsthand, what I'm pulling out of these, it looks like some shit out of an alien movie. Like this is the first time when I watch Blackfish, I'm like, I kind of want to watch a debunking movie so I can still go to SeaWorld. And so, so I did that. I want to watch a debunking to this, if there is one, hopefully to be like, oh, they faked it or some shit. Cause it was that disturbing.
There isn't. That's they'll try. But there is, because they're not screwed.
Because all the people on there seem pretty accredited, and there's a lot of people who went anonymous, but the other people who didn't were high in their fields or whatever.
So people don't know that Purdue Pharma is technically, I believe, now owned by the government. By the lawsuits that happened, essentially the government took over all the assets of Purdue Pharma. The family kept their fortune, though. So there's that.
I know them from the Pain documentary.
Huh?
The Pain thing on Netflix. It wasn't a documentary, but it felt like it. Did you see that thing about the Purdue family?
I mean, my friend actually dated one of their family members, and the opulence and how insanely wealthy they were was not to be exaggerated. Like they remember they had wings all over the planet. They were Sackler wings all over the planet. Like the wealth these people had was way more than people think. Like that's their official number. Can you imagine what's the unofficial number?
Oh,
they basically live like they have infinite money.
So Nekko, we have this section on the show that we've been doing here recently where I use a AI question generator to ask a random question to the room, of course. And of course, I always like to ask it to the guest first, and I like to let the rest of the co-hosts answer as well, just because it's been a fun time here recently. It's come up with some pretty wacky ones and some pretty weird ones. Today's AI generator that I'm using is called Capitalize My Title. Just a random one. I just find these random AI generators online and just like to continue to play with them because each one has different funny questions for me. That way I don't ever have something the same. So tonight's question is, if you could hack any computer, whose computer would you pick?
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Well, there's Hunter Biden. There's fucking Epstein or Ghislaine. Fucking Hillary. Oh, man. I mean, I guess
it's a pretty good question, isn't it?
I'll go with the obvious. I'll go with the Hunter Biden for now.
All right.
It seems like I'll probably see some titties on there at least. Some other things I don't want to see, but there'll at least be some titties stuff. Hopefully of age, I think, with him at least.
You haven't got to join us recently and had one of these fun questions asked to you, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to hear what you got to say, Ox.
Man, if I could hack one laptop, it would be whoever the fuck is driving this ship because I want to turn it around. I'd say probably whoever's in charge of the whole Julian Assange situation. If I could hack their laptop and maybe make something happen for them, that'd be pretty cool.
Luis, I'm going to go over to you now, bud.
So if I could hack one person, it's a mixed bag. It'd probably be because of all the crazy shit that they do, either Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, because the weird shit that they are into.
I want to see what
shit.
Elon
it's
is
just
up to. Elon doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. Hence, remember, he has all of the government contracts. Plus, he makes cars because he wanted to build cars. I know. I mean, he's terrible at certain things, but other things he's not terrible, and that's the reason he's become so successful, is because he understands things better than other people, and they still call him an idiot. I'm like, yeah, sure, he's an idiot. And they're like, oh, he has handlers. I'm like, yeah, when you're running multiple companies, of course you have people that are doing every other thing for you. I love that somebody was saying like, oh my God, like, yeah, that's what ultra powerful people do. Like, they have to focus on crazy shit that you're not focused on. Some of those people do more in like an hour than some do in like years. It's just problem solving.
Okay. All right, Neptune. What about you?
You said, repeat it. It has to be one person.
One person. It doesn't have to be a person. You want to do a company system? Is that what you're already thinking?
ATF mainframe.
What are you doing in there? What are you doing in there?
I want to know what all records they actually keep and where all their actual funding goes to. And I would leak that shit. They have offices overseas, places I never thought I would have to understand why they have funding for overseas field offices.
Wait,
Why?
Yeah,
I want to know where their budget goes. That's what I really want to know.
Well, that's fascinating.
Well, I was kind of in the same realm of thought. My idea, as soon as I read the question tonight, was I would have to go for the IRS.
Yeah, that's a good
because
one.
I feel it is only my duty to delete as many people's debt as I possibly could.
No, I mean, the worst part with the IRS is you would find, oh, look, they know how much they could tax everybody. Fuck you! I am sure there's some people in the IRS that are like, we could like just do like this, and like people would be taxed very low, and like everything would be balanced. Like there are equations to balance this shit out. There was a MIT project where they were basically creating a system just to balance an economy if you can control it. They were like, oh, if a computer is controlling the economy, actually it will stay fruitful endlessly. Like the DAOs will be very
That's how you know it's not meant to be.
That's how you know it's fabricatedly made badly on purpose, because that way there is more disadvantage created. That way it's harder to compete. People don't understand that the economy is intentionally made to behave this way. It's not by accident. It's not by market forces of like the ether. It's all constructed narratives that push everything into the direction of the ultra rich having more control, which is unfortunate. We need more diversity in wealth. We don't need the wealth to be so high up. We can diversify it. It'll work out really well.
I decided to change my answer real quick because I thought maybe Hunter, he may have some Epstein type shit that I don't want to see on his laptop. So I want to go with NASA, because that will solve a lot of interesting questions, but the more funner questions about this Earth or realm
the moon landing
whatever.
tapes. Even if you have access to the computer, what are you gonna get? There's no moon landing.
Well, I mean, you can actually see the moon land,
the ice wall or
something.
Some Antarctica computers or Admiral Byrd's logs, or
I wish that story was
right.
You
think
right? Like, how fun was that?
You guys think
it's a cool story? I love how everybody fell for it.
Huh? You think the Vatican has transferred all the hidden documents in the basement to digital form yet?
Question.
Oh, the Smithsonian.
Who knows if the Smithsonian? Remember the giant skulls?
The giants, yeah.
All the giants
still have
destroyed.
There's pictures of it. They have giant skulls in the museum. So there's like a normal. Sorry, this is a normal skull, and then this is the skull of the giant they found.
Well, they have the news articles back when you couldn't scrape it was printed news articles, and you'd see them like digging them up in 1812 and like different farms and shit. They'd find just crazy stuff.
To like at 8 to 10, 11 feet, right?
Yeah.
We found a bunch in different parts of America at times. Like there's bunches of stories where it was even in the newspaper that people found giant bones, and then the Smithsonian shows up and they're like, we're going to take these for investigation.
But,
and then it just never gets
why keep such a beautifully interesting secret a secret is my question, realistically. I
know.
Want to know the why. Like, who concocted that we're going to keep secret something for hundreds of years? It's I'm weird. Like, okay, why aren't giants considered real?
See, I've said that. I've said this before, and I'll always probably say it. Old dude, when he wrote the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, like he said he wrote it off of like historical documents that he found in libraries and stuff like that when he was growing up. This was, so I'm one to believe that yes, giants were here. Yes, elf type people, short type people, because they still exist.
They found them.
Here, like there were multiple forms of humans, multiple forms of humans, and now we're just all kind of down to the same docile breed.
We're basically dogs. We're really like dogs.
There's a species of human at adult size. They're the size of a 3-year-old, and they were like that's a hobbit, dude. That's a smaller than a hobbit, and they had fully formed adult bodies.
I have met also pygmies in Guatemala, what people like you would consider like a pig.
Modern pygmies.
Yes, they just look like normal people. They were just smaller in proportion, but they were like proportionally wise. They looked exactly like you or me. They were just physically smaller, and I was like, okay, this is weird. Like my brain was like, but you know, there's people like that in Central America, South America. You see them all the time. Like you see them all the time. Like they are the ones that are constructing everything. They're the hardest working people. It's like, that's the irony. It's like they're small and they can do anything. Like, and the Italian people can't do shit. Like it is fascinating.
Well, South America has very like mystical, even in the way they write, all their stuff is very like magical. Like even their creative writers, it's never written in like mechanical shit that we write. It's like, oh, my love is a wave.
Mushrooms were very found everywhere. Ayahuasca was used all over the Americas, and they've been using mushrooms forever. That's why they've been using psychedelics for hundreds of years.
That's a perfect explanation.
So Nekko, man, where can everybody that's out there listening and checking you guys out, that are watching and stuff over there on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute, where can all these folks find you when they don't want to listen to me talking to you?
So that's something I found out recently, since it's been about a couple of months since I podcasted, and I finally moved. So I realized that Anchor had been absorbed by Spotify. So my stuff has been posted through Spotify, I think through whatever stuff it auto posts. I need to go on there and check and post this episode and stuff today. And I think I'm definitely on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think Stitcher, and a couple of the other ones in that network.
Nice.
But I want to, now that this is my first video, maybe I can do, what's it called? The one that pays you in crypto.
Fountain.
Fountain. Oh, Fountain.
Yeah, there's also Rockfin and D Live.
Look up Podcasting 2.0. You'll find more information on all of the alternative options. It has also the largest index of podcasts.
And there's monetization opportunities with Podbean, the audio service that I use.
Oh,
yeah.
Because Anchor did have one where we could make like commercials if we had, and so I was getting a little bit of income from Anchor, but that option's gone with Spotify. So Podbean will be pretty sweet to check out.
Why wouldn't they want to help you? Spotify. It's ran by a bunch of like.
I think they have enough like big name people. They don't care about the little fish or something.
No, they don't care about the tech either. It's like they really don't care.
So
they could.
So of course, when we're getting closer to our wrap up time, I always like to go around the table and see if anybody has some final thoughts for the evening and such before I ask my pirate question, of course, before we get ready to close out. Nekko, you're the guest, so I'd like to start with you, man. You got any final thoughts for this evening?
I'm just excited to see all your guys' faces. I've been listening to you for a couple months now, and it's kind of cool to put a face to the people. It's even cooler to be here and interacting with you guys. Kind of surreal. So I'm excited to kind of get back into stuff, and hopefully you'll see me on a bunch of your friends' shows soon too, as well. I hope I'll be on soon as well. And also
you're back here too.
Pure Pet Wellness. I kind of know it's hard to get sponsors in this field if you have anything conspiratorial. So I do have a small family-owned business. So I'm reaching out to the people that I personally listen to offer it. Right now, I'm mostly in like a couple local stores, but I'm really trying to just go and push the online a little more because I'm able to offer more wholesale pricing that way, because when I'm going through the stores, so many hands start taking pieces off that the product comes to a crazy price. So
yeah, guys, and you guys actually hear me plug Pure Pet Wellness at the beginning of every episode, and make sure you guys are using that code Plunder. Go over there and get yourself a discount when you're hanging out and checking out his stuff to get yourself something good.
Oh yeah, and that code works over and over and over. So if you like it and you want to reorder, if you order again, that will help out Jim Bob, and that will help you out with 20% off as well. And it's all organic. The whole reason I created this company is because I was a web designer, and my dogs had hip dysplasia issues. I moved to Mexico, had surgeries, went down that route, and it was a horrible process. And then I tried going raw diet CBD, It was night and day. The hip that I didn't have surgery on ended up in better shape than the one I had surgery on, and that was a horrible, expensive process. So I was sold then that I have a Doberman. She began having seizures because of her. She has a small head for her brain, I guess. So any little bit of inflammation will cause her to have a seizure. So she hasn't had one in 4 years since she's been on the product. So I have
found that the CBD products work very well with my boy and his anxiety. He has as much anxiety as I do, and I feel bad for him because the poor dude's just always eat up with it. But man, you give him a couple gummies or the little treat thingies that he has, and he is just chilled out and on the couch with me and able to, hang out with me and the kids without being rambunctious. So you guys definitely check out his stuff, man. That's why I'm always trying to plug it at the beginning of the show for you guys. So, Ox, I am absolutely tickled that you were here this evening. It's been a while since we had you on. I know you're.
I'm really thrilled to be here. I've been working a lot, and I'm really happy to be on.
So, with that said, man, I need to hear your final thoughts on the evening, man. Anything you want to share with everybody out there?
Honestly, just great talking with all you guys again. Really nice meeting you today, Nekko. And hopefully we can link up sometime soon and do some conspiracy shit.
Oh, for sure, man. We're close enough, for sure. I actually go up there a lot on the weekends for my wedding photography, so definitely can link up.
Right on.
You guys might run across each other. You're in the same kind of field in that area. He's doing the photography and you totally cater, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, every now and again.
Oh, those are lifesaving. Oh, man. That'll be epic. Give me an extra portion, man. I always get shysted at weddings. They give the photographer.
Oh, that's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah. Or they're like, hey, eat after the guests eat. I'm like, I need to photograph right after. I'm like, I got to slam this down. And
yeah. That's too funny, man.
Yeah.
Well, Ox, I do thank you so much for being here, man. And I look forward to the next time you get to join in with us, man. It's great to see your face, man. I love hearing your input on stuff. So
likewise, man. I'm really glad I could be here.
I'm gonna skip over there to Neptune, man. What you got for us this evening before we close out?
Jimmy, come back to me. Give me 1 second.
All right. Well, then I'll go to Luis.
All good. It's good to meet you, Nekko, and also so many interesting topics covered that I didn't even think about, especially the dog thing. I mean, dogs. They've always been our best friend after the cataclysm.
Oh, right.
We have the record of, right? After 13,000 years ago is when we started to believe be our best friends. But we eventually are going to treat animals better than we treat each other. But
most of us
really important to treat
already
them.
Yeah.
Still very important to treat them right. And then also treat your fellow humans also as good as you treat your pets. And then everything would be normal again.
Awesome. All right, Neptune, are you ready for it now, bud?
Yeah. So since we were on the subject of the ATF and the FBI earlier, for everyone out there who doesn't know, who should know by now, today marks the 30th anniversary of the end of the 51-day siege that took the lives of 82 people, including 28 children at Waco. So just remember that there is nothing neither too big nor too small that the ATF won't kick in your door and burn your house down for.
That reminds me when you were saying like, hey, we could get a property together. And I was like, yeah, man, that sounds like a great idea. All of our different stuff. But I'm like, man, whenever a bunch of people get together in a good space, that just makes it a target sometimes. I'm like, oh man, we might need to make 5 properties. 5 properties in different states that we can cycle through, or
the government definitely does.
It does in a sense, but I think that if you have the right people, like if you give me the right people, I don't think you're stopping us. I like the right crew. We might go down in a ball of flames, but that's going to be the way you got to do it. Like there ain't going to be no.
We just need 10. They'll need tinfoil hats to protect from the MK Ultra beams or whatever.
No, it's
line your hat, bro.
The line, but people do aluminum.
The word of God
aluminum
or whatever
doesn't work. Aluminum doesn't work like tin. You have to actually get tinfoil. That's one detail people forget about.
Of course, it is everybody's favorite part of the show that I love. I know everybody else does. That I get to give something away to folks because you guys know I've been looking forward to this. I've been just handing these stickers out. There's been a few more. I know you guys like to answer them in random places, and I do eventually find them. So that's why it takes a delay on some of them. So make sure you're hopping over to unconstitutionalawakening.com and finding this episode to where you can also find the links to get to Pure Pet Wellness and all of our other great sponsors, as well as links to get back to him and anything I can find to go along with this episode, since it was kind of filmed a little different than most of the episodes. You guys know how, technical difficulties roll sometimes, but I still try to make it work. So tonight's pirate question, though, is pirating was most common between 1480 and 1530, 1615 and 1640, or 1690 and 1720. All you got to do is give me an A, B, or C, man, and you guys get yourself some free stickers for checking out the show. So I do appreciate everybody that's been here joining us this evening. Of course, like I said already, you can get links to get back to Nekko and everything else he's got going on, as well as Pure Pet Wellness and such too, man. And I do appreciate you coming on, Nekko. I look forward to having you back again. And I thank each and every one of you guys out there listening and watching and supporting us that keeps us going with this stuff, man. And I thank everybody over here on the panel from the crew tonight that joined us this evening, man. This was a great episode. I've had a great time this evening. So I look forward to more from that. And I reckon it's time we weigh anchor and get on out of here. So good night, everyone.
Peace.